let's talk about Mighty Ducks. Well, sorry, the official name is D2, the Mighty Ducks.
Hey, Charlie! Hey, you want to play some hockey?
D2. Can I start with a non?
Go for it.
I did not know until today that not today, but the other day, that the Mighty Ducks NHL team was named after the movie. Growing up, I always just assumed the movie used the NHL team because, the movie came out in 92, the first one? So I don't know. Before we were born. So when we watched them, the Mighty Ducks were a team. So I just always thought it was our Little League teams were always named after pro teams. I was on the Yankees in T-ball. We were named after them, not the other way. But it was a year after the movie, I think, the Walt Disney Company got an NHL bid for an expansion team, which is why it's in Anaheim, because Walt Disney owned them until 2005 or something, and they named them the Mighty Ducks because of the movie.
That's crazy. That's so interesting.
Yeah, I always thought it was the other way.
Well, it's funny because in the third movie, which is in 96, Charlie was to this girl he was talking to, he's like, oh, you haven't heard of us? They named a pro team after us, which I assumed was just for the movie.
Oh.
But it's actually in reality.
You have never heard of the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. They named a pro team after us.
I didn't realize they were such a new team, though. I thought they were an old team.
92, I think.
It's crazy.
Them and the Florida Panthers, that's an NHL team, I believe, right? I used to know NHL back in the day. I don't anymore.
Yeah.
They were the two expansion teams in 92 or 93.
Gotcha.
One other thing I didn't realize was that Emilio Estevez is the brother of Charlie Sheen. I didn't know that.
Fun fact about that is that Charlie Sheen he turned down the part of Coach Bombay. Yeah, so that was super
very different movie.
The first movie was supposed to be a lot darker. I guess he was supposed to be an alcoholic, and he kind of is. He's a DUI, but they were supposed to go in depth more with his alcoholism and stuff. And they were like, "Oh, we should make this a kids movie." Yeah.
It's we're Disney. I don't know why we're doing this.
Right, exactly.
I was a fan of that team for a little bit. All I remember is Paul Correa was the star.
Oh yeah.
I always was Mighty Ducks. I love that team because I love the movie.
Right. So did the NHL. They're we love the movie. Now I guess one of the reasons I picked this is because I don't know, hometown. I live in St. Paul now, so it's part of me. And the one of the reasons why I was excited to move to St. Paul was for the Mighty Ducks. But
was it weird to watch? When I was watching it, I was trying to now that I've been to Minneapolis more times since the last time I've watched it, I was trying to be oh, do I know this spot? Oh, have I seen the
Right. It's funny because I live down the street from Mickey's. We used to go there all the time before the pandemic. But there's definitely some locations that are easy to point out. But something that I found out this viewing, actually, which I had no idea, was there's a scene in the beginning where they're recruiting all the Ducks. Charlie's getting all the Ducks back together, and they skate over the fountain. That's right near. We walk by there all the time. Irvine Park. It's right. I was wait, that looks kind of familiar. And it's funny because it kind of goes along with that whole scene. It's now where I live here, it's I know a lot of the locations, Mall of America and parts of Minneapolis. It's if they actually traveled the distance they did, it would be 43 miles. To,
when they're skating around.
Yeah. It's they go
across a bridge, and I was this has to be so far.
And where's the Mall of America security? They were in Mall of America for a while, and then they the kid who was working at the movie theater, and they're hey, let's go, and then he just has his skates, and he's just flying through.
Right.
Everyone, let's go! Come on! But
it's always downhill. They're skating very fast the entire time.
Oh.
That's so true. There's never uphill scenes.
I was thinking about that, because they were going through parks and stuff, and it looked like it was mostly flat, but almost always downhill.
Could you imagine just scenes of them trying to go uphill and they're just out of breath? And it's
That's what I think. That's reality. That's
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going 43 miles, they're going to be tired. So,
but they're clearly in good enough shape to play with us.
really good. Well, it's funny because so Charlie's apartment is like right in Minneapolis, and then I actually went there a couple days ago, and then they go get Jesse, which is it's close by. That's like doable. But then they go get, I think it's Averman. That's at Mall of America, and you have to take the highway to get to Mall of America.
That's like really far away.
And then they go, I think it's Kanye and Gee, which is back to Minneapolis, which is on the river. And then they go get Goldberg, which is actually near my work, which is kind of cool. I had no idea. So then they go across the fountain, which is near me, which is in St. Paul, to go get Adam, which is back in Minneapolis. So it's actually I kind of want to do that. I want to make a video of me going to all the locations. I'm not going to rollerblade 43 miles, but
you should rollerblade.
I feel like a really good like ultra marathon route.
Dude, that'd actually be kind of cool.
The Mighty Ducks marathon.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about watching it this time? I mean, when was the last time you watched it?
It was a long time ago for me. It was. I mean, I think we might have watched the Mighty Ducks. I don't think it was D2. A few years ago, but I hadn't seen it in a long time, and it was kind of odd because, kind of like you said, Jesse, like I've been to Minneapolis twice now, and I actually like recognized at least a handful of spots from when I was there, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. The Mall of America was one I for sure recognized. I definitely recognized Mickey's when he was getting out of the bus and it was in the background. But it was fun. I mean, I hadn't watched it in like forever, but it's a fun movie.
I don't remember the last time I watched it. A long time ago. And I watched it yesterday, like in the morning, right after watching the Trial of the Chicago 7 the night before. So like slightly different feel, level of acting, and I just like was so aware now of this time, all the like cheesy, like the first time I think I noticed it is when he's sharpening the ice skates and it like pulls him to the side and it's like zoop, and he just like flies. Like you would never move that way. He just like swoop, and just like all the really cheesy effects of like anytime someone gets hit or like in when they're skating around and the team from the first movie, is like, we're gonna trip them with this fishing wire. And then the kid shows up and beats him up, and there's just like all the sound effects as they're like getting thrown over.
Hey, come here. Where you going? Hey, get over here, huh? Come here. See you later, buddy. Come here.
Why did they change his voice, Fulton's voice, for those two lines?
They won't know what hit him.
I know. Who said that?
Hi, guys.
Why did they do that?
I just was shocked because it's the first time you hear his voice, and I was just like,
Right.
Is this how his voice is the whole time?
He's brothers with the guy who plays Guy. He's his brother.
Which one's Key again?
He's the guy who's kissing Connie in front of the waterfall.
Oh.
They don't look that similar.
I guess Fulton dyed his hair. I don't know. They did some things, but yeah, I had no idea. No, he's a big actor now. He's in like Daredevil, and he does a lot of stuff now. He's probably the most successful, other than like Joshua Jackson.
I see little Joshua Jackson.
He beat out Leonardo DiCaprio for Charlie. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that's so funny.
I mean, I don't know, Leo.
Leo who? What?
I don't know. I don't know. I've never heard of him. I'll check some of his movies out though.
Well, yeah, wasn't Josh Jackson? Wasn't he the one in Titanic? Right?
He probably should have been. I don't know if I've seen it, but I mean, I would say to the casting, great, all the kids. I will say that Goldberg, the timeline doesn't line up, but Josh Peck for Goldberg, he could be a pretty good Goldberg if they were to maybe remake the Ducks in like 2000.
Honestly,
I don't know how this lines up. Just want to throw it out there.
Drake Bell could be Charlie. Dude, that could be good. That could be really good, actually.
A Nickelodeon's like, we'll do a hockey movie.
If they actually cast Leo DiCaprio as the coach, maybe he would actually get another award. It'll be like his first one post-Revenant.
Yeah.
That's true. I cannot picture, though, right? Charlie being Leo.
That's not weird.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
And I guess Jake Gyllenhaal's mom wasn't going to let him try out or something. I think he was going to try out too. So there's big names attached to it. Like, and then Tom Hanks was rumored for the coach. We had Michael J. Fox. We have Bill Murray, Tom Cruise. There's all these people attached to it.
Also, forgot that Kenan Thompson's in it.
Was that Kenan? I was trying to figure that out.
Uh-huh.
Wow, I didn't know that.
He's great. He's one of my favorite parts about the whole thing.
Oh, the best, the knuckle puck. I mean, how many times? I know we usually used one of the balls instead of those like horrible street hockey pucks when we played. But if you ever had the puck, you were trying to do the knuckle puck.
Now, Russ, what can you do for the team?
You never heard of my knuckle puck?
Knuckle puck? No.
Man, I used to love playing street hockey. I think that's one of the reasons why I love this movie so much. Was I feel like we started kind of playing when I started watching this movie, over and over again.
We would never play on skates, and they make skating look so easy. And
they totally do.
I also just thought it was funny because both in terms of hockey movies, but also just general movies. I was like, why did they pick Iceland to be the big bad?
You know? Yeah, I was gonna say that too. How do you feel if you're from Iceland and you watch this? I mean, they were horrible.
Well, so I read about this, and apparently they had Russia being the main team, but I guess
which you would expect,
right?
Which would make sense, right? When was Miracle? You know, the U.S. versus Russia.
That was 1980s, I want to say.
Yeah, and this was early 90s, right? So this is right after. Would make sense. I assume they wanted to do Russia, and they were for whatever reason, Iceland, because nobody at the time.
So the reason they picked Iceland. It's because no one really knew about it, and Minnesota Vikings, it's kind of a similar vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, initially Russia was considered as playing the role of the antagonist, but given the relations between the U.S. and Russia had improved at this time, the writers elected to use Iceland because not many people knew about it.
Saving the world from itself by not inflaming tensions between the powers.
Right, exactly.
So way to go, Disney. Way to go.
Way to go, Disney. That's funny. And then and another thing with that is when they do the tournament, when they play Italy and Trinidad, they picked teams that aren't known for hockey, I guess, just to not piss anyone off. I guess.
When you walked in when I was watching that, she's like, "Are you watching Cool Runnings?"
Oh yeah. Oh, the best multiplayer.
They had a bunch of steel drums and stuff in the crowd and stuff, and I was like, not quite, but close.
By far the best jerseys of the movie, though. Although I like the Ducks ones, but the Trinidad jerseys are sweet. This is the first time I've realized this. Jan, Jan, the old guy who runs the skate shop.
Oh, yeah.
So his name is Jan. In the first movie, it's Han, but I guess they're brothers. And I thought that they recasted and changed the name of the guy. But I saw in this one that when he picks up Gordon at the bus station, he's like, "Oh, my brother's in Norway." And I was like, "Oh, they're brothers." I had no idea.
Where he's Han couldn't get out of bed or something.
Right, yeah.
Come pick me up.
And then he comes back, I think, in the third one. But it's so funny.
I feel like Disney sports movies are great. Are all the real life cameos?
Oh,
of especially when they're showing that first party that Gordon is at, the Olympics kind of, and they're here's the NHL stars, here's who was Greg Louganis and
Kareem was there.
Gucci. Kareem was there.
I know.
Classic. Good old Disney sports movies fitting in as many
cameos. Love it. Wayne Gretzky pulls a cameo towards the end. Did you guys have a part or anything that you that stood out to you, that you haven't seen the last time, or that's always stuck with you since you've seen it the first time? Anything in particular?
I don't know why, but first, I feel like this is the one part that I was like, oh wait, I do remember this movie, is when the one character who's the kid from Texas, and he starts lassoing everybody. I really vaguely remember that.
Rancher Dwayne. Yes, sir. Round me up some stray cattle there. My pleasure.
But that was the part that I was kind of just oh, this is a fun movie. And also just like throughout the entire thing, how like there aside from maybe like the one game where they first got beat by Iceland, like everyone's just so happy all the time. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was like I didn't really feel like it came off cringy in this particular instance, but it was like moving in that direction for me where I'm like, why are you all so happy?
Totally, dude.
That's just 2020, man.
Yeah.
That's just you're not allowed to be happy, man. This is,
No, that's
I
great.
love the that scene, after Gordon's really like messing things up and everyone's up super unhappy, and then where Russ and his like LA team like teach them how to play hockey, out on the streets when you like see the knuckle puck. And like I love that scene, and I also love that like I just love how like Russ just like shows up, he's just like kind of just appears and he's like heckling them.
Yeah. For no reason whatsoever.
And then they play him and they're like, hey man, do you want to join the Olympic team? And he's just like, yeah, I guess I'll play in the Olympics. Sure. That's cool.
Yeah, I always wondered how that went down. Because like there was the first game where he was just like giving him crap, like yelling at Jesse and then the coach, and then they randomly shows up at their training facility when they're stretching. He's like, oh, come play my boys. I was like, okay. All right, I guess they're friends now.
Man, me and my boys can take you anytime, anywhere. I don't see no boys. I got them waiting. Grab your gear and let's go play some schoolyard puck. Or maybe you forgot what it's like to play for real pride. I
always remember, the end. Spoiler alert, guys, if you haven't seen the movie in the past 30 years, you're going to want to skip this part.
So back and watch the movie before you listen to this.
Exactly. Where they put Russ in as goalie, which I don't know how they make that change so fast. They like call a timeout and they just all skate over, and somehow they get Russ into Goldberg's jersey and pads just on the ice. I don't know.
And no one noticed.
Magic of Disney.
Yeah, and
no one notices. Yeah,
normal stuff going on, and then I like remember that whole scene, but I didn't realize too like how abrupt that was. Like, how did he change? And then they like start doing the flying V. And like you don't even really see Iceland, and then they pass it back, to him, and he takes the helmet off, and they like hand him a regular stick. And the Iceland coach is just like, "Oh my god, go get him!" But you don't see any Iceland players anywhere. You're just like, "What?"
The goalie! Tyler with it. Tees up the puck. With the knuckle puck.
Why did he take his helmet off? I mean, obviously they want to show that he's Russ for the movie, but like, come on, if you're trying to be discreet and score a goal, don't take your helmet off.
Yeah,
you actually could be discreet if you left a goalie mask on. Like,
right, exactly.
Also, with Fulton's slap shot, you know how like when he hits a slap shot, it just goes in. Why don't they do that more?
Yeah.
Anytime they're like, "Hey man, just go do it," and he just gets out there, and it's like, zoom, and just flies through everybody, hits the goalie, falls in.
Look out! Look out! Look out, boys! Like a bunch of wusses.
every single player on their team like has their like one thing they're good at. The guy who like is so fast but can't stop. The goalie who's just got a really good glove. The guy who's got a really good slap shot. The guy with the knuckle puck. Like they all have their like signature thing they do. There's like the two guys who literally exist to check people.
Yeah.
So like when they were like doing the like comeback, it's like everyone had to do their one thing, and somehow that just started to work. It's like, were they not doing this the entire time? This is the only thing they do.
Because they had a coach who wasn't having fun. And
Exactly.
That's the idea.
Well, they did eventually let the guy lasso people in the game.
That's true.
That's all he did. He just would lasso.
What are they going to call this penalty? Well, it's 2 minutes for roping. That's a new one on me.
I do love randomly that when they're there and the Bash brothers are like going to, he's like, you want to put on some music to sleep to or something? And they put on like, like death metal. And they're just like, all right, see you tomorrow, man.
What do you think about, like, how does it compare to the other two films out of the trilogy? Like, what do you think? Do you like it better? Do you like it worse? Is there things you like about it that aren't in the other ones? Have you seen the other ones?
Not in a long time, so I feel like I don't
Okay.
I don't know that I like can really make a fair comparison, but like it did bring back a lot of that like I feel like I did remember chunks of this, and it was just kind of like fun to like be like, oh yeah, I remember this. This is cool. But yeah, definitely a fun movie.
I mean, you're speaking to the two kids who stayed in the Mighty Ducks suite
Oh yeah,
at Disney World, so we're like pretty big fans.
Well, you got to give the backstory on that and what that is.
We ran the 2017 Disney Marathon. Ran is maybe not the best term. We kind of were broken, and we were staying at Disney. It was for my birthday. It was on my birthday, and we are in one of the All Stars hotels that's all like themed after Disney movies, and we are staying in a Mighty Ducks themed motel in Disney.
I think that theme kind of went as far as like I think there was like the kind of wallpaper you'd see in like a pediatric room or something.
Yeah, but they did have the like, you know, like out in the middle where there's like the pool and all the fun stuff if you were a kid. You know, like giant hockey nets for no reason, just kind of like giant decorations. Basically, the story is the hotel asked for our room number once, and Joe just responded, "We're in the Mighty Duck suite." But there's an entire 2 motels that are all the Mighty Ducks themed.
Yeah, the response was like, okay.
They're like, yeah, and we're big fans. Is the third movie the like Seton Hall one?
Yep.
Right. So the first one, yeah, I haven't seen those in forever. I always remembered liking D2. I always loved the original because I feel like the original felt more like, you know, we were playing hockey outside after school in the driveway, you know.
Right.
And then the second one was like, maybe we'll be Team USA. We won't. We didn't. And and I always remember not loving the Seton Hall one.
Okay.
But I mean, they're all great, but just out of the 3 of them. But now I feel like I have to watch them.
You should. I think they're. I watch them every year just because that's me, and I've always watched them every year. The third one's definitely. I actually really like the third one. I think for me, it's the second one, the third one, then the first one in the order of how I like them. I don't know. The third one's interesting.
I'm curious too if like being older, just watching them, you know, and then you'd see like Seton Hall, you'd be like, I mean, you thought everyone was cooler at that age, probably.
Oh yeah.
You know, but you were like, now you watch it and you're like, oh, these are like kids in school.
Isn't that weird?
And then you were like, oh my God, like high school and college.
Right.
That's like the big
so
leagues. That's
exactly.
Like, they're like pro athletes, basically.
The new Mighty Ducks comes out this year on Disney Plus. TV show, not a movie, TV show. It's called Mighty Ducks Game Changers.
Do we have any cast fun facts?
Yeah, we got Emilio's returning as Bombay. Lauren Graham will be in it. It seems like she's a mom of one of the hockey players. But as of what I'm looking at IMDb right now, I don't see any other surprise cast cameos. No, not as of right now.
Thompson's not renewing his role.
I hope they come back at some point, but who knows?
Wouldn't you love Kenan Thompson to be like, guys, I'm leaving SNL. It's been a great run, but I've been offered Mighty Ducks Game Changers.
That would be amazing. That would be awesome. I hope they do like one episode at least where they all come back, or most of them come back.
How do you feel about, I don't think I've watched many of them, but this whole, I feel like new wave of like the shows from when we were a kid are now, like Girl Meets World, right? Like you were a huge Boy Meets World fan. And like Full House with Fuller House. Like, how do you feel about the new series?
So Boy Meets World is still one of my favorite shows of all time. I like it. It's almost like it's the same thing with movies too. Like like I'm a huge horror fan, and they just did that with Halloween. Like they made a new one, but they made it a sequel to the original. They're doing that with so many movies now. Yeah, I do like it in some ways. In some ways, I don't. It's like too much. If it's done well, I'm okay with it, regardless. But like, for example, Girl Meets World, like I don't know, it's just a different vibe. It's not the same. Like it's way more Disney than it was. It's like made for kids, which I know the old one is too, but it still holds up today. Whether the new one is just like, I don't know, if you're like 8 years old, that's our only age range we're gonna give you. I don't know. I like them, but it
What's
definitely
your, like,
feels
favorite
like
one or one of like the good ones.
Fuller. I did not like Fuller House. Not a huge fan of that one because Full House
I
is
watched the
cheesy
first
as it
season.
is, and the new one is just like takes that. It's unbelievable. I didn't think they could get cheesier than Full House, but they literally got cheesier with Fuller House. I don't know. How do you guys feel about it?
I don't think I've watched many of them.
Yeah, I kind of like to leave a good thing, unless like, you know, sometimes I feel like it actually like takes away from it for me anyway. But there's like one of the things that made me think of was how like Sony has rebooted Spider-Man like, you know, a handful of times, and then Disney did their own take on it. But interestingly, like rather than just like rebooting it, like it sounds like they might be moving into like a Spider-Verse where like all three of those can exist in the same time, which is like completely an interesting thing to me, because all of a sudden it's not just like the same thing redone 3 times. It's like a different wrinkle. I don't think that could ever exist for like a Fuller House or, you know,
Right.
Boy Meets World, Girl Meets World pairing, because like they're just different, you know. But I don't know. I feel like it's interesting to see them reboot these things and try and make it a little bit, you know, make it its own thing, but also like do right by the original show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you there. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times when they make these shows, it's like, for me, they don't work because, like, for example, the new Saved by the Bell just came out, and I just watched that all in one day. I mean, they're so short, but like, I don't know. What my problem with these is that they have this audience from like the 80s or 90s or early 2000s, and then they have this new audience that they're making it for, and they're writing it to make both parties like enjoy it. Like Saved by the Bell, like there's all these great cameos and jokes that deal with the original show, but these kids who are watching this have never seen the original show. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like that's same with Girl Meets World. Like you have Mr. Turner and Minkus, they all make appearances, but like these kids have no idea who these people are, and it's like they're trying to make these for both. It just doesn't work, in my opinion. But
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, like they do. I feel like it's like what they've been trying to do. Like, you know, Pixar's really good at having like the parents also enjoy the movies, or I feel like there's even like cartoons that were done really well where there's like adult jokes that would go over the head of a kid, so they, you know, at least the parents would be like, yeah, I like watching SpongeBob. I don't know if SpongeBob's a great example of that, you know, but they like sneak these things in. But with these shows, what you're sneaking in is like these references that the kids don't know. So I don't know. Maybe they'll get good at that. Again, I haven't really watched these because I'm kind of like Joe, where I'm like, I just liked it. I have no interest in watching the new one.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I like watching them just for the character. Like, I love the Saved by the Bell characters and the Girl Meets World. It just like they're not. I don't know. I haven't enjoyed watching them.
Yeah, like as far as like I think the thing I tend to like more than anything is like expanding storylines, pretty much, or like you know, like that's like textbook, like what Marvel does. They take all sorts of different movies and like weave them together. I feel like Disney took that strategy there. I feel like they're starting to take that strategy with like the Star Wars franchise. But like if you took like, you know, a story like Boy Meets World and you did Girl Meets World, like to me, like they should fit together, and it should just like extend the story that they've already started. And it kind of feels like disjointed because it's like just meant for a completely different audience, you know?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it is interesting too to Like, do you ever think now when you look back at like kid stuff where you're like, oh, the typical like, oh, the show, like Disney and Nick were good when we were kids, and now it's just garbage. But it's like part of it is like, I'm not a kid anymore. Yeah, so maybe it is garbage to me now. Or is it really changing? Or like, like has there been too big of a shift where like it's hard to mesh those together now? The thing I'm always like interested in is like, I think the changes are usually good. And I think it's always been changing, it's like the things in the 90s, there were things in the 80s that were, corrected and stuff. But it's just the idea of like how stuff holds up that was made way back when, where like, the context of when it's made is so important. Mm-hmm. But, much bigger topic than a D2 movie review. But
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious on how the show is going to go. I don't know. I mean, I have very low expectations just because it's a Disney Plus show. So, I mean, I guess not low expectations. Low expectations that it's going to be like, I mean, I'm sure kids will love it. So, which is, I guess, all that matters. But who knows? We'll see.
Don't forget about me, Disney.
Right, exactly.
I just saw that, Quibi shut down. I don't know if either of you ever tried to watch Quibi. I remember signing up for the 3-month free trial, canceling it right away. Never watched anything on it. Not even one thing. But that was, I saw Roku bought their entire content library for, I believe the report said less than 100 million, which is a very strange way I think that's phrased. Was part of the agreement that the statement is less than 100 million, but it was 2 million? Or was it like 99 million? I don't know. But wasn't the guy who started Quibi was a Disney, right? Like he had used to been the head of some Disney production.
I'm not too familiar with that, so I don't know.
I think he was in charge of some Disney studio. Like that's why when he launched this, everyone was like, this guy knows content,
Gotcha.
And again, I didn't see the content, so maybe it was really good content. Maybe just the form of it didn't work. But we hit a point where everyone was inside. All they wanted to do is watch things. We were all on devices, and it didn't work. I don't know.
Right.
But because he was from Disney, I'm just so curious of. I think Disney Plus is going fairly well. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But most of anyone I know with kids loves Disney Plus because I think they really love it. I feel like our millennials kind of are the big Disney Plus age because we love all this nostalgic factor. But I just wonder if that I wonder if Disney Plus is going to keep growing or if it'll always just be this Disney catalog that we all love because it's the catalog, or are these new shows going to become, Disney classics?
I think it'll be a bit of both. I think I trust that Disney knows what it's doing when it comes to content. The content that they're coming out with now is probably going to be what some of the classic content to us might be in 10, 15 years. So I think Mickey Mouse will be fine.
No, I thought they're the classic, the Pixar and those big things. But again, I have not watched it. The Mandalorian? Is that going to be a huge part of the Star Wars franchise?
So Dee and I watched that, and I think it will actually.
That's exciting.
Because oddly, there's a lot of critics of I'm a pretty big Star Wars fan, but the sequel trilogy, a lot of people were pretty meh on because of how they treated some characters. But it seems that this show, when they do bring in characters, they're actually doing them justice. It seems, at least I think so. So it seems like it's able to exist in the same world, but almost explain away some of the maybe mistakes of the
course correction.
Kind of. Yeah. I'm looking at it, but it was really, really well done. And I kind of hope they keep going that direction.
I'll have to check it out. I mean,
that's great.
I did want to see Baby Yoda.
I know. I love John Favreau too. He's great.
Oh my god, I forgot it's him. He's the
Yeah,
best.
Justin, you have to watch it. I feel like you love him.
He's
And I kind of get the sense that because he did the initial Iron Man too, right? And
Mhm.
that was what kicked off the entire like Marvel world. So like I feel like they brought him in to do this show, which obviously he's going to do a great job, but also he's going to like set up all these different storylines, which it seems like is what they're doing because they announced like, I don't know, give or take like 5 to 10 shows that are spinning off from this series. So it kind of makes me feel like they're taking that approach with the Star Wars franchise.
cool.
That's great. I love that. No, I mean, I'm sure this is going to come up a lot, but Joe's a huge proponent of Spider-Man 3, which I love. I love that you love that movie. How do you feel about like the prequels? I know this isn't a Star Wars podcast, but
Wait, which
how do you
one's in
feel about that?
Rochester? Quick,
What?
That was,
which one was shot in Rochester?
Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. Oh, except none of the stars showed up.
that
I
was
just
the
want to get
one
any
where-
bias
just a
out of the
teaser.
way up front, you
Right.
know. Like,
The scene that was shot in Rochester is the one where they're like chasing a guy in a truck, and the truck does a complete 180. That was not in downtown Rochester. I remember when I think they shut down like downtown for like a day or two to film that.
yeah, I
Wait,
went
yours
up
in
there
Rochester?
to watch the scene, and you just like it was right near like Eastman, like near Java's, and I just remember watching. The only thing I saw was like hundreds of those fake NYPD cars. You know, with sirens go, and then they'd cut, and they'd be like, "All right, reset," and all of the cars would be in reverse, coming back down the street to reset.
That's awesome.
But it is also the movie. We had a friend who showed up in a 3-piece suit because that's just what he wore at the time, and he wandered on set, and everyone thought he worked there, and he was like chatting with a producer, and then at the end of the conversation, the guy was like, "What do you do here? Like, here's my card," and he was like, "Oh, I'm just here to watch." And he was like, "Oh, you have to get out, man."
That's so funny. I love that. For those people listening, we are all from Rochester, New York, which is why we're talking about this.
Yeah, sorry to derail that, but just wanted to
Yeah,
get
that's
that out in the open.
But anyway, Disney Plus, I think it's, for me, I think it's the best, like, it's one of the best, like, layouts and, like, interfaces. It's really easy to use and it looks nice. Like, you have Hulu, which is, like, I don't like their interface. It just doesn't.
Disney is also a part owner in Hulu, I believe.
Really? I did not know
I
that.
do believe.
Mhm.
They
Wow.
really just spread it out.
I think
Wait,
that's why they bundle with like ESPN and Hulu and Disney Plus all together.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Did I
Gotcha.
got off a Spider-Man question to Joe though?
I was just asking how you felt
Oh.
about like the Star Wars prequels because they got a lot of flack. But Joe is a defender of Spider-Man 3, jar respect, and a lot of people don't like that movie. So I'm just kind of curious on what your thoughts on, quick thoughts on those. Like,
I have a few issues with the first one. I generally am happy with the prequel series, much more so than the sequel series. Just because I feel like they do a pretty decent job of tying into the kind of like if I watched the original series, it'd be like, okay, well, how do we get into this world where there's this like evil empire, and like where did Vader come from? Like how did the Emperor get there? And they do a pretty good job of answering all that and tying it in real nicely. So I could say a few things that I don't love about the prequels, but I feel like generally I feel like they do the story justice in that they set it up well into moving into the original series. So like that's really all I'm looking for.
totally. No, I feel that. Like I haven't watched those in a while. I actually really want to do a rewatch of all of them. But when I saw them, I liked them. It's been a lot, like years, but I had the posters, I had the action figures, I had everything.
I think
But-
it's like a popular Halloween costume.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think my brother was I can't remember him being Spider-Man, but all I remember is those like you'd put the string,
Oh yeah.
like the silly string in, and he had
Uh-huh.
sprayed like the house outside, and it just stuck forever. It's like a landmark on the house. All from
That's great.
Spider-Man.
Sorry, derailing off of Mighty Ducks, but yeah, I don't know.
Great movie.
A great movie. I'm curious on what the show's gonna bring. I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? Any last thoughts for you guys? Like anything you want to say or mention? Or
The only thing I'll say is I think we need to create some like either like I know for anyone out there, like for onset we've talked about doing like video content, like a video tour and or even just having like city-based tours. I think Minneapolis St. Paul needs a Mighty Ducks tour or this 43-mile skate. I feel like that needs to be a thing.
Yes, I 100% agree. Yeah. So if there's any people out there from Minnesota, take some video, photos, send them our way. I will also, I think I'm going to do a video going to all the locations. I can do my own tour, not rollerblading. Maybe I might, but who knows? I have them. So maybe with right. Maybe when the snow melts, but we'll see.
Cool.
But cool. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up unless you guys have any last thoughts. Josh Peck for Goldberg 2021.
Josh, in summary, this movie's great. Josh Peck, amazing job.
With a soundtrack by Omi, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be awesome. Imagine a Mighty Ducks theme song by Omi.
Let's make it happen, guys. We'll start posting probably to somewhere, right? Where the next movies will be in advance.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
We'll figure it out. This is the first one, guys.
This is the first one, and so Jesse or Joe will pick the next one, and then we'll go from there. And this one will be. I will cut this one up, use my editing skills, and then release it. Thanks for listening. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Clap on.